Ain't no party like a chicken party, and chicken party don't dance.
Hey everyone, it's Jessie from Condo to Cottage. Welcome to this week's garden tour. Today is July 27th and I came out here nice and early so that I can show you as much of the garden as possible before it gets super hot. So we are still in the middle of a heat stroke. Not a heat stroke, a heat wave. Hopefully not causing heat stroke to too many people because it is hot out. So another day today in the mid 90s, I believe, and with like 85 to 90% humidity. So it's warm. So I have been trying to come out in the mornings and in the evenings to get as much stuff done as I can. And I'm wondering how you guys are doing because I know that the heat has definitely had an effect on the my plants, and I'm wondering how you guys are faring. So just tell me in the comments if the heat is affecting your plants. I apologize if I'm sniffling. My allergies this morning are a little rough. So the first thing that the heat is doing is it's stunting my cucumbers right now. So I feel like I had so much cucumber growth in the last video and the week before, and this week I've got not a lot. I've only harvested a few, and the ones that are still on the vine that I have not gotten to harvest yet, like they're not ready yet, they're starting to get some funky shapes. So luckily, if you watched my last video, I've been doing some succession planting and getting new cucumber seeds into the ground for a late summer harvest, and some of those I did see popped up. So that's exciting. At least that gives me a little bit of a backup because these guys back here are starting to call it quits on me, and I don't blame them because it's hot. So let's take a look in the garden. We'll start off in the, I'm just going to tell you, this garden is a mess. I have to weed whack in here because it is just crazy. So bear with me. The garden looks wild. It's because it is. Does your garden look wild? Right, so starting off with our crazy tomato patch, which I cannot even fit in the screen. How insane this thing is. So, huge tomato patch. Green beans are they were in here. I can see some dying leaves, but they're completely, I'm not even going to try to look in there. And then our squash, which is now completely in the walkway. So that's why it's going to make weed whacking very difficult. I do have to get in here though, because with this hot, humid weather, I am getting some like downright mold growing on stuff that has fallen down. Oh, look at that little guy. I don't know what you are. Probably something that's trying to kill my squash. But yeah, there is some mold going on in here. But I do have some baby plants, some baby scallop squashes. This tomato patch, I am not getting any cherry tomatoes off of it yet. And I honestly don't even see that many growing. But there's a bunch that are just like setting blossoms now. So that's going to be a late harvest for cherry tomatoes. So we'll see what happens there. So yeah, this squash plant, this is all one scallop squash plant. Largest squash plant I've ever seen. And on the ground it is growing. Lots of babies. So we'll see what the heck happens there. There's another scallop squash behind it that I'll show you in a minute. So this is the cucumber row, and it's just looking sick. Between the squash bugs that have just really taken over. Now I do have some cucumbers on there. It's not that I have none, but see how they get this funky shape? And a lot of times, like look at this. This is the heat that's causing, most likely, the heat. But look at all of these squash bugs. Can you see that? There are a ton. And honestly, I have not done a good enough job trying to get out here and spray anything. Spraying in the garden at this point in July when you have so much heat, sometimes it can be detrimental to even spray neem oil because it's so concentrated. It's just such a strong thing that it can actually damage the plant. So I have not been coming out here and spraying with the neem oil at this point with this heat. I have heard and I've read that you can use a baking soda solution to coat the plants. However, I just haven't tried that, and I'm just a little bit nervous about doing that yet. So I'm going to look into it. Baking soda is mild, but it's just these squash bugs. They just won't quit. I have also read that the best thing to do for squash bugs is to hand pick and put them into a jar of oil, and just that they just like suffocate and die, which sounds awful. So I'm going to see what I want to do. I think that those cucumbers are just on their way out, and eventually I'm just going to pull them. So we'll see what happens there. And then this is the other squash plant. Let me show you the squash from the other side. I think it's a lot easier to see what's going on from this side. But it still looks like a hot mess. But there are some flowers, but I'm just not getting much. So it comes to the point where, now this one's the huge one, so that one's good. This one is the smaller one, and I'm just not looking, it's not getting a ton of fruit right now. So it comes to the point where you have to ask yourself, is it worth keeping that? Because it's taking up so much real estate in this garden. And I'm just not sure that it's worth it right now. Plus, I am getting some powdery mildew on there. So because of all we have had a lot of rain and humidity. So I'm going to have to treat for that. But we will see. I might wind up ripping this guy out. I'm not really sure. And just using that real estate. So this is the back side of the cucumbers. And they're declining health, I guess. All right, so back on this side, we have an eggplant, a ground cherry, which was setting, it's setting fruit, which is super exciting. You guys see that little guy? Now they're called ground cherries because they will, when they're ripe, they will actually drop to the ground, and then you just have to pick them off the ground before the animals do. And they're a relative of a tomatillo, but they are sweeter apparently. This is another eggplant, which is setting fruit. And then, so this is a tomato that, these were 3 volunteer tomatoes. And I threw them in here because I had nothing better to do with them. And they fell over the other day in a storm. So I just kind of leaned them into this garden bed, and I'm going to see if they completely take over like I suspect that they will. Here I just have some lettuce left over. I did rip all the lettuce out that we had, except for these, because these are going to seed. I saved the seeds from the other ones, but I wanted to make sure I got some mature seeds from these varieties so that I make sure I can plant the variety of seeds that I did this year because they were so good. Then I have some Swiss chard that's coming up here, but it's only like this one little plant. And what I did in here, I just mulched this area that was all lettuce. And I did plant some rutabagas. I just did some seeds, but I'm not sure that they're going to take because of how I did it. But I have like little spots, one there. So I've got like 4 spots of rutabagas. The seed pack that they came in was not very descriptive with how to plant them. So if I don't see sprouts in the next few days, I'm going to just look up the best way to do that. I do still have some beets in the ground and a little patch of carrots back there. I did pick some. I picked most of them, but those are actually decent sized beets, so I didn't want to take them and not use them right away. So those are looking okay. And then the kale has actually kind of come back from the cabbage worms because I think that they're maybe dying off with the heat or something. So the kale patch is actually looking pretty good. So that's exciting. And then I have a basil plant here, some lemon balm, and this tomato patch, which you can see the yellowing on the leaves. It's definitely losing some of its health, but the tomatoes are still looking okay. So that is a nice sized tomato, and just some dead leaves there, but that's okay. I also have on the other side of this patch, so this is these are some green beans I planted. Of course, I did them thinking I was going to take my kale out, and then the kale was like, oh, really? Let me show you. I can come back. But I do still see some kale damage on there, on the leaves. Those holes are from the cabbage worms and the cabbage loopers. But those green beans are looking pretty healthy. So we'll see what happens there. All right, then in this crazy mess, sorry for my dogs. Crazy enough, the 1 or 2 sugar snap plants that I did leave on, or sugar snap peas, they just started growing again. I just never took them down, and they're growing again. So that's really interesting. Next to my pretty zinnias, which are at the corner of this bed. And so pretty. Look at that color. It's like, it's almost like an ombre kind of thing. So this tomato patch is good and wild, and it has this one that's dying on it, but it is producing all the tomatoes I'm getting out of the garden right now are coming from this guy, which is the one from inside my house. And it's one of its runners or one of the suckers that I picked off of it and planted directly is over on the end. You can see it's got some foliage looking issues, but I'm getting tomatoes off of that guy too. So that's exciting. Oh, you look at this. Let me pull this leaf and show you something important. Ew. Do you guys see that? Those are squash bug babies. So those orange things are their eggs, and then the little baby squash bugs, I believe. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to step on that, because no more squash bugs. You know, it's so crazy though. I feel like I see a lot of squash bugs eggs on my tomatoes, and then they just move over to the squash. I don't really get it. I don't really know. But yeah, Tomato Alley here, looking okay. Got some more tomatoes I can come up and harvest. I made a salsa with them this weekend. It was yummy. They're very sweet and good. Guys, I am at a loss with this patch here. Just completely at a loss. I have 3 squash plants in this small area because I don't even know what happened. That frost really did me in the beginning of the season. And I have 3 here now. And none of them are producing right now. So half of me just wants to tear it all out. But this guy is kind of starting to fall over the wall, which is what the other scallop squash did. So I think that I'll have more hope there. But I mean, I've been pruning so the pollinators can get into there. The one that's really just not doing anything is this Ronde Denise, which is like really tucked in. Let me show you the other side. So the reason I'm not so sure about doing this is because you can see the blossoms from this side of the fence. So the bees are getting in there. I mean, I see them all morning long. I see them. But like, this is the squash that's doing nothing. And I think I just don't think that they can see the flowers, even though I prune it all the time. So I think I might just rip that one out and let it give more room to the other scallop squashes. So we'll have to see. So yeah, back to this side here. This tomato patch definitely took a beating during the last storm. You can't even see, but I mean, it looks insane because of all those stakes, but it was really knocked over a lot with that storm. So I did come in here and stake up what I could. Really had to think creatively here. I do have, if you look through the jungle, 1 blushing tomato in here. And I'm super excited about it. The chamomile's kind of died back a lot. So I'm not surprised it wasn't getting any light. So between the tomatoes and the chamomile here, that's that whole patch. A lot of these tomatoes are looking healthy. There are some really funky ones. Like, look at that guy. He's got a nose. And I don't know, some weirdness on that guy. So interesting tomatoes in this patch. There are all those heirloom varieties. All right, then over here, this trellis, the melon on here, I think is just completely gone to squash bugs. So I'll just leave it there, see what the heck happens. Tomatoes, looking tall and okay, tall and healthy. So I have different varieties on here. So these ones are actually starting to blush. Well, not, yeah, I guess blush. And then on the back side, you'll see all of the purple color ones look really neat. So yeah, this one is just kind of crazy because basically what happened during the storm is that they all fell this way. So like they fell down off the trellis if they weren't trellised properly. So I do have some that are splitting. So that must be, see, I have like different varieties in here. I think this is the blue cream. So that actually might be ripe. I like eating a fresh tomato out of the garden. Ripe and delicious. So then in the rest of this crazy patch, we have eggplant. And let me show you this one eggplant that is actually 2 eggplants fused together. I can't even really show you, but it is 2. Trust me when I tell you. There, can you see that? It is 2 eggplants fused together. Really weird. There are ants all over my eggplant. I'm just kind of letting that go. There is one back there that I might be picking this week, which would be my first one. I'm not sure how big I want to let that guy get. Just afraid of the pests. So we have this basil. I did harvest this last week, and I made, so that's why it's all bare on the bottom. I made pesto, which was delicious. And we have more eggplant here, 2 more eggplants. And then our peppers and this rogue tomato plant. Check out these peppers. So these are Mira, M-I-R-A peppers. And they're really neat because they start off as like a white color. And then they are supposed to turn red. But I might take one off. Hi, Lulu Bear. Hi. Oh, here comes my other one. Hi, Ted. Showing off your haircuts. So I'm going to see what happens with those Mira peppers. But I do have some giant bell peppers in there that, see, the peppers are tough because you have to leave them on till they fully ripen to red if you like red peppers. It takes a while. So what some people do is they'll put little bags around them so that they make sure they stay safe. Now these are not jalapeno peppers, and they will turn red on the vine, but I kind of want to pick one and see what it tastes like. So let's see. They're supposed to have the flavor profile of a jalapeno without the spice, which to me, I'm like, well, you pick jalapenos green, so it tastes like a non-ripe pepper. So, listen, you got to figure out what works for you. The chickens have been released. Are they out, babe?
Yep.
All right. I might close up the gates. Chickens are encroaching. Look at them all. Who gets this pepper? Is it you, Felissa? No? Even you guys aren't sure if you like it. Look at the COVIDs. Oh, I shouldn't even call them that, but that's what we call them because we got them 2 days before quarantine. But they are looking beautiful and healthy, and they're actually, I think, my prettiest chickens. They're just so pretty. Right, girls? Right? All right, let me close this gate up so you don't... So, I have to tell you guys a story. Over the weekend, my nieces were here, and my sister and my mom, and I wanted to show them the garden. So I took them all outside, and I was showing them, and I had the gate to the garden open. And I guess I forgot to close it. So I came out here, I don't know, probably like an hour or 2 later, and I literally walked out, and all of the chickens were in my garden. And they were just hopping up and down, like picking at fruit on the trellises, and I'm like, oh my God, I was walking my mom out. So it was a few hours later because we had watched a movie together. I'm walking her out, and I'm like, ah! So I drop everything and I come running in here, and they were like teenagers getting caught at a party because they all just ran into the garden. So they like trapped themselves at the back of the garden. So then I'm like, get out of here, get out of here. They knew. It was literally like, mom's here, uh-oh, and they ran. So then they had to run down the garden beds to try and get out. It was such a fiasco. Luckily, I don't think much got damaged because the plants are super sturdy at this point. But I don't know how they didn't do more damage for the time that they were in here, which might have only been a few minutes, and I was lucky and caught them in time. But it was so funny because it was seriously like, uh-oh, we're caught. And then they just scattered like teenagers would. Got that one random tomato plant. Actually, I have 3 of them. There's one, and then there's another one right at the edge of the gravel. But this guy's big. So I actually had a plant like this last year, and the deer ate the entire thing on one side of the fence and then not on the other side. All right. So, excuse me, chickies. Oh, you got that green tomato, Beardy? Felissa, how do you do? So, I have some good news about this patch, is that these tomatoes are coming back. They're coming back, guys. And I'm getting some ripe ones on here. Like this Brad's Atomic Grape down there. One of them is ripening. That's okay. I've got a bunch on there. Nothing crazy, but it's just shocking that they came back at all. I do have some of the blue creamberries and blueberry grape tomatoes. And I have some cucumber babies growing there. So that's great. That's my second round of the cucumbers that I planted. Do have some potatoes still in here. No idea what those are going to look like when we pull them. Check out how weedy this is. I got to come in here and weed whack. I have a random tomato plant that's coming up from the ground. So I might as well trellis it. Why not? Some more. I think these are Brad's Atomic Grapes over here. Look how big they are in comparison. And then those are the blue cream berries again. Sorry for the focusing issues here. There we go. Those are actually super yummy. I've been picking those off the vine and eating them. Right, Lulu? What are you looking at, girl? Are you cute? All right. And then we have, trying to see if I have any more babies that I planted coming up. Did cucumbers and beans. Not seeing any yet, but maybe I'll get some more. Gosh, I hope so. Be sad if I didn't. All right, so that is that. Dogs and chickens, dogs and chickens. Story of my life. This tomato patch, same thing as that first one. Big and healthy, but no fruit yet. So these might be my late season pickings. I don't know. We shall see. Jimmy is still brooding. We have not broken her of her brood. We leave for vacation in a week, or less than a week. And she's still brooding. So I'm going to try this week to break her. And if I can't, my amazing house sitters are just going to try and continue to kick her out of the coop whenever they check on the chickens and get the eggs. And we'll see if that helps at all, because she is just determined to get some babies. And we are just not doing it. Not doing it right now. It's way too hot and we don't want to expand our flock. All right, you guys. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't liked or subscribed, like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can hit the little bell icon. That would be great. I love doing these videos and looking back and seeing the progress that I'm having in the garden. I mean, look at it behind me right now, which is, I can't even believe that, given how I felt a few weeks ago, and how that frost that was after Mother's Day really just put me in a funk. So love doing these videos, so just hit the like button for me. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Thanks so much for watching.